Well, thank you everyone for being here and taking the time to be on this class. And I'll introduce myself first. My name is Vince Bellardo, owner of Vince's Auto Service in Newtown, Pennsylvania. Been in the automotive field about 39 years and a shop owner over 21 years and part of the Shop Management Alliance since 2013. I want to introduce our awesome presenter today, Chris Lawson. Chris has helped dozens and dozens of shops find technicians and other staff as well. He actually very detail oriented to ask the right questions to get the right technician to fit your culture in a shop. And Chris is very easy to talk to, very clear to understand, and he makes the hiring process very simple. So without delay, Chris Lawson.
Thanks, Vince. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn my camera off because I just want you to know that I am a human being. This isn't being given by a robot here, but I've got some back problems and I'm going to squirm around a little bit. So I don't want it to distract from what's going on here. So if you do have any questions anytime through the presentation, certainly feel free to ask the questions and I would be happy to answer those for you. And we're going to just jump right in and get started here. So why are we all here today? Well, it's pretty clear. I don't have to tell anybody on this call how difficult it is to find technicians. And I don't have to share any statistics. We all know all the statistics. We all know what's going on here. But what my goal is here is my goal is to show you a different process. And I kind of come at this from a different angle because I, wasn't brought up in the industry. I've actually only been working with your industry for about 3 years now. So I'm, going on 4 years. So I had to be a quick study. I had to figure out a lot of things really quickly, and I looked at it from a different perspective. But what my goal is I'm going to give you exactly what you need to stand out. So I'm going to show you what is important, what you need in order to stand out and have your shop stand apart from all the other shops that are out there. And then also where to find good techs, and then also how to follow up and bring them on board. All these things have to be included together or the system doesn't work. So the analogy I use is anybody been deep sea fishing? Anybody been out there on a boat? You catch one of these bad boys? I think this is a blue
not
marlin.
that big, but yeah.
So the analogy here is you need a few things in order to catch something like that, 1,000-pound blue marlin. So one of the things you need is it helps if you have a guide. You need to have the right bait. You've also got to have know where to fish, and you don't set the hook on a blue marlin like that and then put your pole down and go back and grab a beer. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you're consistently in there. You're in the fight and you're reeling it in until you get that bad boy on the boat. So these are all important things that we're going to talk about as well. And I'm going to walk you through a process that me and my team use and that Vince alluded to in the beginning. So who am I? Why am I qualified to talk to you about this? I actually, in a previous life, I was a financial advisor. So for over 25 years, I worked as a financial advisor. I was in the financial services industry, and I built up several practices and sold them. Most recently, in about 2010, what I decided I wanted to do is I wanted to leave the big firms. I'd always worked for big firms, Fortune 100 firms, and I got tired of that. I wanted to have my own firm. So I left. And one of the things I figured out really quickly was that the big firms have huge marketing clout. And it was tough out there on my own trying to market when I didn't have this names and the marketing dollars behind me. So what I had to figure out is I had to figure out how to do it myself. So I did what we all do. I joined BNI and LaTip and a bunch of the networking groups. And I also started social media because I wanted to get the word out about who I was and about my small firm. So I was actually one of the first, every year I get a notice from LinkedIn and they say, hey, thank you for being one of the first 100,000 subscribers to LinkedIn. I think I was like 89,000 subscribers on LinkedIn on the platform. Now they have over 700 million, almost 800 million subscribers on the platform. I was kind of an early adopter when it came to social media, and I started figuring things out. And I started bringing in clients for myself using social media. Well, doing all the networking that I was doing, a lot of people were asking me, hey, can you do that for me? So what I started doing is I started helping out some of the people that I knew in my BNI group, some people I knew in my LaTip group. And before I knew it, my sideline was kind of overtaking my financial advisory practice. So I decided to sell my practice. And in 2011, I started what would later on become Astute Social Media. I really had to bring myself up and figure out what was going on in social media to leverage and learn how to run a digital agency. So I studied blogging. I studied blogging with one of the top bloggers in the world. I studied copywriting, social media, digital marketing strategy. And now with my affiliation with Shop Management Alliance, I've gotten a certification in Profit First. And really the reason why I did all this is because I read a book. It was actually a Nightingale Conant program about 25 years ago called 7 Years to Seven Figures. And it was by a guy named Michael Masterson. And what he talked about that there are three skills in a business. There are there are valuable skills, and then there are financially valuable skills, and then there are financially invaluable skills. So the valuable skills are just things like bookkeeping, things like cleaning up. These are things that really don't impact the bottom line of a business, but they're important. They're functionally important. The financially valuable skills are things like management. Your managers are financially valuable. The financially invaluable skills are things that affect profitability. These are the things that move the needle in a business. And a lot of businesses feel like they're running at a profitability level where they're staying in business, but they're not really getting ahead. And that's why you focus on these items. So Michael Masterson said, the items that are financially invaluable skills are marketing, sales, product creation, and profit management. So I decided that if I really wanted to add value and create value for my clients, I had to focus in those areas. And that's what I ended up doing. So fast forward to 2017, that's when Nick invited me in to speak to Shop Management Alliance. And a few of you on this call were in that meeting in Burbank, California, back in 2017. And as a result of that meeting, I ended up getting about 9 clients in the automotive industry. And I did not know the automotive industry at all at the time. I did know social media very well. And so I helped my clients on the social media side. But what I ended up doing was I ended up becoming a student of the industry. I figured out what the pain points were, and I figured out where I could really add the most value. So where I added the most value, where I could add the most value is where one of the biggest pain points was finding technicians. I was on these calls. I was hearing over and over again how difficult it is to find technicians. And I studied up on that. So I realized that needed to be a major area of focus. The second area of focus that I really reshifted my business to is focusing on SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads. That's the marketing side. Remember, financially invaluable skills, marketing. And then reputation management. One of the things about reputation management is, we think about getting reviews. And we think about getting reviews from a perspective of, well, we might have customers that see us or on Google or see us on Yelp or wherever they see us. But what you don't realize is that there's tremendous leverage in your reviews, because one review may be seen 1,000 times or 10,000 times. You'll have a review out there and it could be out there forever. So what I look at, and this is something that I really got from Profit First, is you want to make sure that if you're spending any money, particularly marketing dollars, that you're getting a 6 to 10 times ROI. So that's really important that you focus on that. So I reconfigured my digital agency only to those items that could give a 6 to 10 ROI. So 6 to 10x what you're paying for it. Reputation management does that. If you have a response to a negative review that thousands of people are going to see, and even though you got a 1-star review, if that 1-star review was responded to correctly, then that's going to provide an overall value for you over time. So there's a lot of leverage there. And the other thing that we do is profit first. So it's profit management. And this is something we've done extensively through Shop Management Alliance. So those are the services that we offer that are value added to our automotive and our heavy duty repair clients. So how does this all fit into finding technicians? Well, what I did was once I found out that that was a big pain point, I said, can we apply my skills and can we apply the skills of my team to this problem to get a better result? And so what I did is I kind of broke it down. I wanted to re-engineer the process or reverse engineer the process. So I looked at what the shop owners were doing in our group. I looked at what, I read all I could about what shop owners were doing. And I started to find out some things, some areas where we could apply some, immediate benefits and really improve the process. One of them was just looking at the ads that are out there. So this is an ad on Indeed. So what I did is I just randomly, a couple of days ago, when I was working on this, I did a search, 25-mile search from a shop for automotive technician. This is on Indeed. And notice that, the first box is automotive technician. The second box is page 1 of 380 jobs. So if you look down a little further, automotive technician. A little further than that, automotive technician. So you can imagine what page after page after page looks like. And I'm sure you've all seen this. Here's 380 jobs. There are slight variations in the headline, but for the most part, these jobs look exactly the same. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And I said, you know what? We can do something with that. We can apply some copywriting to the headlines. We can snazz it up. We can spruce it up. We can make these headlines so that they stand out from the competition. So that's one area that we can add some value. The second thing that I looked at was well, where are a lot of these shops posting their ads? And I found that a lot of the shops are posting their ads on Craigslist. They're posting their ads on some other places too, but a lot of them were Craigslist. Now, I know a lot of folks on this call are going to be thinking about Craigslist, and most people have kind of a love-hate relationship with Craigslist. My opinion is Craigslist is great if you want to find a used love seat, if you want to find a pair of rollerblades, if you want to find, a used mattress, you can go on Craigslist and you can pick those things up. If you want a really high quality technician, a real high quality employee, this isn't the place to go. So those are some areas that we found right off the bat that we could improve on what was going on in the search for technicians. Another thing that I found was that we're busy. We're all business owners, right? We're busy, and I found that even if those first two things were handled, the third one tripped up a lot of shop owners. And the third one is not having an organized system for follow-up. So what would happen is they generate some applications. The applications would get printed out and sit in a folder, or they would be sitting digitally out in the ether somewhere, and they weren't being followed up on. By the time they were followed up on, they had gone cold. The techs got a new job, they lost interest, they ghosted them and wouldn't return phone calls. All these things started to happen. So when you combine all these together, we started to address these things one by one. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about here today. So I'm going to show you about the system. So I think I saw Greg join the call. Greg from Florida, he's got an awesome operation down there. You on the call, Greg? Maybe I didn't see you join the call, but I've been working with Greg for a couple of years now, and you can see Greg's got 4 shops in Florida. And I just wanted to give you this because this shows you an overview of the process. It shows you what type of results we've been getting for Greg on Indeed. He's got shops in Leesburg, Tampa, Dade City, and Orlando. We've been generating lots of applications for his technicians. And we found many, many technicians for Greg and his operations. Another thing on the right-hand side of the page is this is another side benefit of the system that I'm going to teach you here today. The side benefit is we use Facebook ads. And when you use Facebook ads, people can actually like the ad. So when we place ads, we're placing anywhere from 32 to 48 ads at a time or more if we're placing multiple ad campaigns. And this gives you an opportunity because thousands and thousands of people are going to see these ads. A lot of people like them, so they can follow up and they can come back to the ad later because they may be in the grocery store or something and they're on their phone. And when they like the ad, you can actually go into Facebook and invite them to like your page. We've had clients add hundreds of likes to their Facebook pages because of these ad campaigns that they're running to find technicians. So it's just a nice little side benefit that you can actually get from the process. And we've worked with lots of different shops. This is just a sample of some of the shops that we've worked with over the last 3 years. And this process does work. It works for heavy duty shops, diesel repair shops, mobile repair shops. It works for general auto repair shops. And it actually, we're going to talk about technicians specifically today, but it works even better for a lot of other positions, less skilled positions. So it also works for service advisors, porters, admin people, managers. I mean, it works for everyone because it leverages the most powerful processes for each platform. So what are the mistakes? I promised you I was going to go over 3 different mistakes. I kind of alluded to them in the last couple of slides. But mistake number 1 is the ads suck. Excuse my French, but that's just really the way that it works. The ads just aren't compelling. You need to have a professional quality ad that tells your shop story in a unique and compelling way that makes the tech the hero and distinguishes you from your competition. Very important. So here's Richard Branson. Everybody knows who Richard Branson is, right? The billionaire dude. He's going to fly up into space now. If you want to stand out from the crowd, give people a reason not to forget you. This is a guy who started hundreds of companies all under the Virgin brand. This is the guy who drove a tank down Fifth Avenue in New York City to launch one of his companies. If anybody knows about standing out and making a statement, it's Richard Branson. So very appropriate, and that's what we want to do as well. So who remembers this guy? Anybody?
Yep.
Y'all remember?
Fonzarelli.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Arthur Fonzarelli. So Arthur Fonzarelli, this is a perfect example. So that I read an interview with Henry Winkler, who played Arthur Fonzarelli. And it's a really interesting story because Fonzie was only meant to be a bit character. He was only going to be in a couple of episodes and that's it. He was kind of the resident hood and, cool guy on the show. And what ended up happening is they went in to shoot the pilot, and Henry Winkler promised himself that he wasn't going to do anything that a typical cool guy on TV did. He wasn't going to comb his hair. He wasn't going to take a pack of cigarettes and roll them up in his sleeve in his t-shirt like all the cool guys did in the movies, in the 50s, in the 60s. And he said, I'm not going to do any of that. So they went in to shoot the pilot, and the script came up and it said, Fonz looks in the mirror and combs his hair. So he said, you know what, I'm not going to do that. So he looked in the mirror, he pretended like he's going to comb his hair, and then he said, yay. And that became his tagline. And that also is what endeared him to audiences. And the director pulled him aside at the time and he said, hey, you got to comb your hair. It's in the script. And he said, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to set this apart. I'm going to make this character unique. What ended up happening is the Fonz was one of only 2 characters in Happy Days in the entire series that was in all 255 episodes. He became the most popular character on the show. And does anybody know, for extra credit, does anybody know what the only other character in Happy Days from their run from 74 to 84, the only other character to appear in all 255 episodes? Any guesses?
Ron Howard.
That would be a good guess, Vince. It's actually not true. It's not correct. It's the dad, Howard Cunningham. Fonzie and the dad are the only 2 guys that were in the actual, that were actually in every single episode. So what's the point? The point here is that Um, the Fonz, Henry Winkler, went out on a limb. He differentiated himself. He made this character his own, and he stood out. And when he stood out, it brought attention to him and changed the trajectory of that character. So what's the formula? So the formula is you want to have a compelling headline for each of your ads. You want an ad that stands out. And this works whether you use Indeed or whether you use ZipRecruiter or Hot Jobs, or even if you want to go back after I beat up on Craigslist for an hour, even if you want to go back to Craigslist, it still works better if you have a compelling headline. You want to have the perfect intro and opening to each one of your job posts. You want to have a magnetic middle to keep technicians reading all the way through to the end. And then you want to have the compelling close. The compelling close is what gets them to contact you. So if you were on the call yesterday, you already know the answer to this one. Anybody know what the radio station WIIFM stands for?
What's in it for me?
That's exactly right. What's in it for me? And that's what you have to be thinking about when you are placing these ads. Go down and take a look at all these ads, and they're almost identical. And what they talk about is they talk about how great the shop is, or they talk about what you can do for us, what skills you need to have, what you're going to be doing when you show up and for work. It's all about what you can do for us. We want to flip that on its head. We want to talk about what's in it for the technician. So what I ended up doing, again, as I mentioned, I didn't know anything about the repair industry. So I had to do a lot of study and figure things out. One of the things I did a little while into this process when I started working to help find technicians is I asked a group of members of the Shop Management Alliance, I asked a group of their owners, hey, can you set me up with just a quick 8-minute interview with one of your top techs? And I want your good techs. I want your A techs. I want the guys that if you could clone them and you had 3 or 4 of them, your business would just go over the top. And about a dozen shops were kind enough to set me up with their top A techs. So I had these interviews and I asked them 8 questions. And as a result of those questions that I asked and a result of the interviews that I've had with other technicians, I speak at conferences. I used to speak at conferences before COVID, but I used to speak at conferences. Anytime technicians were training, I would stick my head in the room. I've bought tons of beers for techs and sat at the bar with them and talked with them. And what I found out is that there are some things that are really important to address in each one of your ads. There are tons of things, and we could go on and on with this list, but these are the top things that I found really grab the attention of good technicians, not just any technicians, but good technicians. So good pay and benefits. That's pretty standard, right? No surprise there. To stay busy. So now we're talking about good technicians. We're talking about technicians who not only are good on the skill side, but they're good on the emotional intelligence side too. They're self-motivated. They're folks that really are into personal growth and personal development. So they want to stay busy. They want to keep working and staying busy. They want to learn something new every single day. I was talking to a tech and he said, you know what I love? I love that this shop handles so many different types of vehicles. And, I may be working on a tractor one day. I may be working on, a Peterbilt the next day. I may be working on something else the next day. And I just love learning something new. And I love having other folks in the shop that I can learn from. So that's also a big selling point too. If you've got a lead tech in there or a couple of folks that really know their stuff, that's a great selling point as well for a top tech because they get to learn from their peers and they get to grow personally and professionally. So if your shop does anything that promotes personal growth, like you get Audible accounts for your some of the shops in the Shop Management Alliance sponsor Audible accounts for their employees, and they read books together or listen to books together. All that kind of stuff is music to the ears of good, solid technicians. They want to be appreciated for their contribution. One of the biggest things that I hear uh, especially from technicians who went from dealers over to the independent side, is that I wasn't appreciated. I was treated like a number. I was treated like, just another profit center, and they didn't really care about me as a human being. A safe and productive work environment. So we think that this is, we don't really think about this as one of the top things that you want to mention, but if you've got, a well-lit environment, it's safe, it's productive, you're investing in equipment to keep things safe and to keep your technicians safe, it's important. We need to mention these kind of things because they're looking for that. And they also want to know that you have their back. They want to know that they aren't going to have to be looking at, behind their back all the time. They want to know that everything is fair and on the up and up, and that everything is transparent. That's the next point. They always want to know where they stand. So it's transparency. It's transparency for the numbers. It's transparency in terms of things like efficiency, and it's transparency in things like workflow. I talked to one tech one time, and I asked him why he left a dealership. And he said, they had this cherry picking system where all the good jobs went to the pet techs. And, we just never knew what we were going to get. So transparency in how the workflow gets doled out, transparency in the pay. We hear this all the time too. It's like, hey, I got this check, and, there's some funny business going on with my check. What's going on here? So just being very transparent about that whole thing works. And hours. I've also talked to techs who said, when I got hired, they told me that there were going to be no weekends. I get here and there are going to be now there are weekends. So just being very transparent about everything that's going on in the shop. And as I'm going through these, I'm not just saying this because these are things that, when you hear this and you say, oh yeah, my shop has this in place, it's not about whether your shop has this in place or not. It's about, do you communicate it in your ad? So there may be a lot of things that you have that are benefits. And that's actually why we go through this process when we're working with new clients, is we go through the process of kind of pulling out all of the benefits they may not even see as being benefits, because those are the things you want to mention in your ads, because that's how technicians are evaluating whether or not they're going to follow up on this ad. So keep that in mind as I'm going through these things. Another one is a career path, room to grow in a shop with a future. Very important. And then also to be part of something special, making a difference. And this is especially true if you're hiring millennials, attract millennials. It's important not only, and don't get me wrong, they do focus on pay, and pay is important, but being part of something special is really important to the millennial generation, even more important than, my generation, Gen X, or previous generations to that. So being part of a cause, being part of something that's bigger than themselves, very important. And if you can put that into your ad, it's going to help you attract those individuals as well. So essential piece number one is the headline. Headline gets it all started. A headline is what's going to stop the scroll. It's going to get the click, and it has to be structured in a certain way in order to get the most benefit. And this is the way. The winning headline contains, number one, the keyword. So the keyword is the position. The position helps to identify it. So if somebody's looking for that, they can see it. It also helps for search engine optimization. So it also tells Google what this ad is about. So it's important for a lot of different reasons. So you want to have the keyword, and I'll show you examples in a minute. You want to have the benefit. There are two different kinds of benefits. There's an explicit benefit and there's an implicit benefit. The explicit benefit is actually what the benefit is. And I'm going to show you examples of that on the next slide as well. But the implicit benefit is the benefit that's implied by something that you say. Again, I'm going to go into more detail on the next slide so you can see the difference between those. But it's important to have that benefit because that ties it back to what's in it for me, what's in it for the tech. And that's what you want to have in your headline. The next one is the click booster. This comes from the SEO world, the search engine optimization world. Sharp folks in search engine optimization who get paid lots of big bucks for figuring out how to get people to click on things have figured out that if you can put certain things in your headline, and this works for headlines for blog posts, articles, anything that you're writing a headline for, if you can put the year or numbers or parentheses in your headline, it increases your click rates. And that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get people to click in. So what are some proven successful headlines? These are some headlines that I've used over the years that have gotten literally thousands of clicks. And they seem simple, but it's deceptive. It really is deceptive. One of the first one, auto mechanic wanted for family-owned shop with great pay and benefits. So you can see the keyword is auto mechanic. Next is wanted for family-owned shop. So family-owned shop is an implied benefit. Can anybody imagine what the implied benefit is of being a family-owned shop?
No red tape.
There, that's a great one. No red tape.
You're not a number.
You're not a number. Perfect. Exactly. Exactly. Any other?
You have access to the owner.
That's a great one. You have access to the owner. Absolutely. You don't, there's not a chain of command and your voice is never heard. Any other benefits can you think of? So those are all great. Absolutely right. So that's the implied benefits. And then you've got an explicit benefit. The explicit benefit is great pay plus benefits. So, you know, of course, if your pay is competitive, then you want to put it in there. This is a question I get asked all the time is, should we put our pay in or should we not? Indeed is actually making you put pay scales in for certain jobs. And it's the weirdest thing. It's the strangest thing. For some positions in some areas, you have to put in your pay rate. In other areas, for other positions, you don't. So we've been playing with that and it's kind of weird. But the question I get asked all the time is, should we put the pay rate in the ad? And the answer is, if you are competitive, then sure, go ahead and put it in there. But if you can't afford to pay what somebody advertising down the street is paying or what the prevailing rate is in your area, then of course you shouldn't. You know, it's logical, right? You don't want to advertise something that is going to hamstring you when people are looking at your ads. So that's generally the rule of thumb there. So number 2 is auto tech wanted for 80-year-old family-owned shop, deep roots in the community. Somebody on this call will recognize that one, right? Auto tech wanted. So that's the keyword, auto tech, 80-year-old family-owned shop. There's your implicit benefit. So it implies, of course, deep roots in the community, trusted relationships. They've been around for a long time, so that there's probably no funny business and they know what they're doing. I mean, there's a lot of implied benefits here. And then deep roots in the community is an implied benefit for someone who is looking to be part of something special. Deep roots in the community, part of something special, part of something bigger than they are. So there's a lot of psychological stuff going on in this this particular post. And you'll notice in both of these posts, actually all 3, we've got the parentheses. So that helps in the click-through rates. The 80 number 80 helps in the click-through rates because 80, it's a number. So there's a lot of, you know, kind of subtle psychological things that are going on here too. The third one is diesel mechanics, looking for a shop that gives a crap. Start fresh in 2021. So here we use click-through rate boosters 2021. The year we use parentheses in order to get more clicks. We also are making a promise, a very bold promise. And that promise is you're going to be working for a shop that gives a crap. And it's funny because I get pushback sometimes. We use BS very effectively in a few of the headlines. And BS works great. It really gets a lot of clicks. Facebook doesn't like it when we use BS. So they end up rejecting some of the ads. But anything that you can do to stand out and provide a promise that is a really attractive promise will help out. But you have to make sure that you can back up that promise. And that's what we do in the intro. So the essential piece number 2 of the ad is the intro. So this is the face that a technician makes when they read the headline and then they click on it. So they're skeptical. They're skeptical that you can actually fulfill on the promise. They're skeptical that you're not just another shop, and they've been made promises before and they've been burned before. I talked to one technician and he said, you know what, shops will say anything in an ad. And so you never really know what's going on until you show up in the shop, and then it all comes out. So that intro, in that little couple of sentences, you've got to say something that shows that you understand what the technician is going through. You understand that you know what the problems are, and that you're not like every other shop. And one of the trickiest things that I have to do when I'm working with shop owners is I have to kind of pull them out of the business owner mentality and put them back into the technician mentality. Because a lot of you started out as techs, right? You know, it's like Michael Gerber talked about in E-Myth Revisited. It's like, the entrepreneur is someone who's, the technician that had an entrepreneurial seizure, right? We start out as technicians, and since we're good at doing something, in this case, working on cars, you say, hey, why don't I build a business around working on cars? So it's actually a disservice to you as a business owner, because if now all of a sudden you can keep getting pulled back into being a technician. But as a business owner, and a lot of you on this call have been, business owners in this industry for, 20, 30 years. What ends up happening is you get far removed from what it was like to be a technician. So the thinking process is a little bit different. So we have to come back. We have to put ourselves in the shoes of someone who's a technician right now. And we need to say something to them that's going to keep them on the post, keep them on the page. Because the reality is their fingers are poised on the back button. And that's how we all go through the internet. We're just waiting to click out because it's not relevant, or because it's BS, or because, whatever. We're just all waiting because we've been burned so many times on the internet, because there's just so much crap out there, that we're all viewing this with a skeptical eye. So the intro, you want to be a mind reader. You want to think, what are the thoughts that the tech has even before they start reading the ad? You want to think, okay, how are they feeling? What's the dominant emotion when they land on the ad? What examples would resonate with them? How can you join the conversation that's already going on in their head? That's a marketing, a very well-worn marketing axiom. It's good marketing joins the conversation that's already going on in your customer's head. So how do we do that? Well, we do that like this. So here's an example of an intro that I wrote for a shop. If you need to earn a decent paycheck for your family, but the thought of grinding away as a number in a big dealer makes you sick, we have a solution. At Aaron Semi Repair, we do things differently. We're about having fun. We're about working hard. We're about family. And we're about getting paid what we're worth. So right here, this is different. And you may recognize this is different. This is not, you will be doing this. You will be responsible for this. You will be this. You'll be this. You'll be this. This is about, okay, look, we've got a situation where we're going to take care of you. You're going to be part of the family. We're going to have fun. We're also going to work hard, and you're going to get paid what you're worth. And this one has been very effective in terms of an intro. And I want to say something here. Hopefully this goes without saying. You don't just take something like this and boilerplate it onto your shop. You want to make sure that you're telling the truth, that everything that is in your ad is actually what you're doing in your shop, because integrity is important too. This was actually true here. This particular shop, they did all kinds of fun stuff with their employees. They did barbecues, camping, outings, personal growth, development. They really were about having fun. And if you went to their Facebook page and you scroll down their Facebook page, they've actually got pictures of these outings, these events. And by the way, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but techs are checking you out the same way you're checking them out. So you want to make sure that your social media reflects the environment that you want to communicate when you are out there looking for technicians. Next one, essential piece number 3 is the magnetic middle. So I'm going to kind of hurry up through this one. The main thing about the middle is, remember I told you in the beginning that their fingers are over the back button, just waiting to skip out and go to the next ad? Well, that feeling never ends. It happens all the way through. And the thing about the middle is what you want to do is you want to focus on the subheads, because what people do, all of us do it, is when we go into something and we see a big block of text, a lot of people just say, forget it. I'm not going to read it. I'm kind of weird. I'll actually go through and read the whole thing, but most people don't read it. Most people, what they do is they look at the subheads, they look at what's bold, they look at the bullet points, and they make a decision on whether they're going to give any more time to this particular ad. So what you want to do is you want to tell the story in your subheads. And I'm going to show you an example of that. Good blog posts, if you've ever seen a really good blog post or a blog post that gets a lot of traffic from Google, you'll notice this is how they do it. If you read the headline and then all of the subheads, you can get a good idea for what the entire blog post is about without even reading the blog post, because a good author or a good copywriter will walk you through the process by just reading the headlines. If you can get good headlines and good subheadlines, that's what captures them and has them go back and actually read the ad. So here's an example. So we've got a job description here. We open it up, diesel technician, so you know you're in the right place. Here's what we promise our techs. Oh, wait a minute. You're promising us something? You're promising me something? And then boom, good pay and benefits. We'll keep you busy. You will learn something new every day. You will be appreciated. So these should look familiar by now. These are the things that technicians say that they wanted. So we are repeating that back. We're joining the conversation that's already going on in their head. And so if they just read the bold and the all caps, they're going to get an idea of how you're different as a shop. And now, once they read all that and they go, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. Now they're enticed to go back up and then read through. Oh, okay. So what are the good pay and the benefits? How are you going to keep me busy? How am I going to learn something new every day? So now you've captured their attention and you've magnetized them so they stick on your post long enough to get to the next step, which is the compelling close. So an ad isn't worth it unless you get the application. You really need to get the application. So if they like the ad and they feel pumped up by the ad and they leave with a good feeling, that doesn't really help anybody, right? What we really want to make sure of is that they actually contact you or they take the next step. So the big thing that we need to do here is we want to wrap up the feeling of the entire post with a quick sentence. Want to be part of something special and grow with us? Boom. How many things does that address? That addresses being part of something bigger than themselves. It addresses having a growing shop that's going somewhere, that's dynamic. It addresses a lot of different things in that one sentence. So if you're tired of the BS and you're ready to check out a new opportunity, please give us a call to chat. So if this is someone who likes to get on the phone, which not many people are anymore, but if they do like to get on the phone, boom, the phone number's right there. You're making it easy for them and removing the friction. If you're really interested in this opportunity to grow with us, feel free to apply by one of the following. So this gives them lots of opportunities. They can go to Indeed, they can email the resume, they can drop it off in person. They can actually come in and see what your shop looks like. So again, we're trying to remove the friction. We're trying to get them to engage with you in whatever way is most comfortable. There's another way that we've done this as well that I didn't have on that slide, but you can also set it up as Messenger. But I'm going to explain why that doesn't work out as well as some of the options in a couple slides. But this piece, I want to remind everybody, reviews are very important. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but every week, just about every week, I'll be speaking with an owner and they'll say, you know what, the first thing that this tech said when they came in for the interview, they said, I checked out your reviews. And, that was one of the things that made me decide to agree to the interview. So if you're having a hard time making interviews stick, definitely make sure that you are communicating what type of shop you are. If you've got good reviews, send them a link to the reviews. I'm going to show you how to do that. But if you don't have good reviews, well, guess what? The number one thing on your to-do list is, or preferably not you, preferably it's somebody on your team that's going to be responsible for this. But you want to have good reviews because you want to show them that you're taking care of, that you're putting the community first and you're putting your customers first. I've heard that from a lot of technicians too. They said, you know what, I got sick of working from, this shady organization that was just trying to pull the wool over all the customers' eyes and make a quick buck. I really wanted to be part of something that I didn't feel slimy when I went home at night. So that's very important as well, and your reviews will tell that story. If you need to start somewhere, these are the big three. Google's number one. I know how difficult it is to get customers to write reviews. You don't want to say, hey, write us a review on Google and Yelp and Facebook, then you'll get no. But if you want to start somewhere, Google is, for obvious reasons, Google's a great place to start. Yelp is important, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this. I'll probably do a webinar later on about Yelp, but Yelp is very important. And it's not so much important because of Yelp in and of itself, but it's important because of their clout with Google. If you go in and you open up an incognito window in your Google Chrome browser and you Google auto repair and then your city, I'll guarantee you, dollars to donuts, the number one organic search result, not the ads, but the number one organic search result is most likely going to be Yelp, which means if you rank at the top inside of Yelp, you're going to get a top rank, a number one rank in Google automatically, just because Yelp puts so many resources into getting those top ranks. So that's really important. I teach a whole training on how to get top ranking in Yelp without paying them anything. I think in very rare cases you should ever pay Yelp for anything. And believe me, I know this. I've talked to Yelp reps from all across the United States. One of the favorite things that shop owners say is that when I start working with a shop, I tell them, you never have to talk with a Yelp rep again. Give them my mobile number and I'll deal with them. And that's like one of the best things that they say at working with Chris, is that I don't ever have to talk to these arrogant Yelp reps anymore. But that's, Yelp is important because SEO. It's important because they are finding you. Diesel shops, heavy duty shops, it's kind of a different story. Your customers aren't finding you on Yelp. But for general repair shops, Yelp is very important. And then Facebook, for obvious reasons. It's very easy to write reviews on Facebook. It's very easy to ask for reviews on Facebook. So, Steve, I think I saw you join the call. I borrowed a little messaging here from your shop that we were working on. This is a different project that I was working on with Steve, but I wanted to point out the reviews section. The reviews here, you can actually customize the link. And this goes directly to Steve's reviews. He's got awesome reviews, just top-notch reviews on SureCritic. This link, they click on it, takes them right into the reviews. So it's really easy, and you can do this in your ads. Mistake number 2 is their ads aren't seen by the right people. So I'm gonna blaze through this one because I want to open it up for questions, and I wanted to get, I've got so much meat in here. I wanted to pack everything in. So their ads aren't seen by the right people. Your ads need to be properly placed and promoted so they generate a consistent flow of high quality applications. So Stephen Covey, he says, one thing's for sure. If we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. One definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expect different results. What are we doing the same of? You want to know what that tech was doing right before he saw your Craigslist ad? This is what he was doing right before he saw the Craigslist ad. Craigslist is notorious for getting a very low quality applicant. Occasionally I get pushback from shop owners that say, hey, I found great folks on Craigslist. Well, those are the exceptions. What a lot of the top companies have figured out is that social media is where they are finding their best applicants and their best employees. All of these companies almost exclusively market, they do some recruiting as well through recruiters, but almost exclusively their public outreach is over social media. So you'll notice Starbucks, Whole Foods, AT&T, GE, VW, Dell, American Airlines, they all have very, very active and robust social media search campaigns to find folks, because everybody knows if you're looking for a technician and they're worth a damn and they want to work, they're working, right? So they're probably not trolling job boards. They're probably not on, Craigslist looking for jobs. They're probably not even any place like Indeed looking for jobs. And what we do is we use Facebook. We found lots of technicians that weren't even looking because they just saw an ad on Facebook and it made them start thinking. It kind of triggered something. And if you catch somebody at the right time when their boss, blows up at them or something happens, they're ready to entertain a new opportunity. So one of the things about Facebook is you want to test everything. Everything is a test. That's another marketing axiom. Everything is a test. People always come to me and say, hey, Chris, do you think this will work? And I say, you know what? I have no clue. Let's test it. So when we run ads, we test everything. We test images, we test headlines, we test body copy or the description, we test calls to action, we test it all. That's why there's so many ads that we put out. We typically start with dozens of ads. And then what we do is we find out which ads aren't performing, and then we prune those away, and then we reallocate we actually have a software that does this. If you've ever been on the ad manager for Facebook, you realize it's a Byzantine structure back there. I don't know why they don't put some work into that structure. It gives me a headache, and I do this for a living. We use a piece of software that makes this a lot easier. It's got bank level encryption, and it allows us to split test all these things in real time. So these are a couple of the screenshots from this system. So you can see, you want to be tracking this because one of the biggest myths going is that you can just boost a post and start getting results. And anybody that's done this on Facebook realizes how difficult it is to actually get results. You don't just boost a post and get results. So we have to split test this, and we're watching these things every day. But it's important because all of these things will help us to narrow down and narrow down and narrow down till we get to those handful of ads that are really speaking to the technicians in your area and getting the results. This brings the cost of your ads down, and it increases the overall level of clicks. So, we got 305 clicks on this campaign. What we do is we take Facebook ads and we push Facebook ads into Indeed. Facebook is fantastic because of their power in helping to target and their power and their relative inexpensive cost to display ads. They're horrible on actually being a place where you collect applications. If anybody's tried to post a job on Facebook, you realize what happens. Somebody fat figures twice and they all of a sudden have sent you an application, quote unquote, and they didn't do anything. You've got no application. You've got no questions answered. You don't know who this person is. And when you try to get back to them, they ghost you. You never hear from them. So Facebook has a lot of work to do on their job platform. Indeed's mastered this. They've figured out the job platform. The problem is a lot of the times they don't have the people that you want to have. So we've merged the two of them, and we send Facebook ads into Indeed to apply. Lots of folks already have a standing profile on Indeed. They're familiar with Indeed. It's just a matter of a couple of clicks and then they can apply. So they see the ad on Facebook and then they apply on Indeed. We have lots of people that do that. So if you want to go after referrals are a great way to go. We also run active referral campaigns too. So just posting something for your local area, the targeting doesn't even have to be that great. You just do a geographic post, and then you put something like this in. We're hiring. We recommend that you offer a referral bonus. Referral bonus gets these posts shared a lot more than not offering a referral bonus. I think I've yet to, a couple times I've seen it. Shop owners actually pay the referral bonus because it just never comes up. But these ads get shared so many times because people say, oh, I might get a referral bonus. So these end up getting out into the community and a lot of people end up seeing them. So the mistake 3 is they don't follow up. So you need an ironclad follow-up and accountability system in place so you never lose a high-quality candidate and you build a solid list of potential candidates you can call at a moment's notice in the future if you ever need help in a pinch. Anybody know who this guy is? Vince Lombardi, the legendary Packers coach. Gentlemen, this is a football. As rumor has it or legend has it, that's how he started every season. Every season with professional football players, he started out by holding up the football and saying, "Gentlemen, this is the football. These are the fundamentals." John Wooden also said it. I read an article by where they're interviewing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who played for John Wooden at UCLA, his legendary dynasty at UCLA. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar laughed. He said, "The first thing the coach would teach us is how to tie our shoes. You know, the best collegiate basketball players in the country, and he was teaching them how to tie their shoes." It all comes back to the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are, you want to assign accountability for following up. I can't tell you how many times we've started these campaigns, we've started generating dozens of applications, and then I contact the shop and nobody was following up. There's a bunch of applications sitting somewhere, sitting in Indeed or sitting in Facebook, and nobody was following up on these. So this is all about delegation versus abdicating. Delegating is making sure somebody else has the responsibility for taking care of it, but you own the ultimate responsibility for having it get done. Abdicate is, hey, you over there, go do it. And basically, if it doesn't get done, there's no accountability and there's no structure in place. Having standard operating procedures, things like checking the ads daily at a certain time, having a tickler for following up, and making sure that none of those good applications slip through the cracks. If you're paying money for ads, you want to make sure that you're maximizing every single application that you get. And there's another reason for that in a minute that I'm going to go over. You want to contact the applicants immediately. Again, people will ghost you if you don't contact them immediately. They'll just assume that you don't have your act together at your shop, and they'll just move on. And the next one is store promising candidates for later. You want to have a bullpen. You want to have a spreadsheet. Anytime you come across somebody that's promising and for whatever reason you couldn't get together on a schedule or the pay or whatever it is, put them in your bullpen, build your bench. Ideally, what you want to have is you want to have a list of folks that you can go down and you can call. When you got a tech that goes on a bender and you decide you don't want him back, it's a 3-day bender and you don't want him back, then it would be nice to have a list of 20 or 30 folks that you can just go down the list and call, so that you don't have to go through the process again of starting from scratch and finding people. So that's also really important. So we work with our clients on that too, to get that together. So let me recap real quick. I just want to be intentional here. We are 1 minute past the hour. We're going to wrap it up here and open it up for questions. I'll stay as long as you'd like to answer questions, but I just want to let you know, out of respect for your time, that we are at the top of the hour. So here's what you learned today. You learned why your ads suck, and how to stand out, and that's the bait. That's the bait that you're putting out into the ocean. Where to place your ads. This is the prime fishing spot, making sure that you're fishing where the fish are. And then how to follow up. That's actually bringing the fish onto the boat. That's making sure that we don't stop on the 99-yard line, so to speak, and drop the ball when we've generated all these applications. So does this work for other positions? I'm just going to run through these real quickly. Yep, here's a tow truck operator that we've run, service riders. We've used driveline repair specialists, shop foremans and supervisors, heavy duty second shift service advisors. We've done this for all different types. Experienced diesel mechanics. We've done this for all different types of shops. So it does work. If you apply this in your hiring, it can work.
Don't worry, man.
So I just want to open it up for questions. Does anybody have any?
Yeah, I don't have a question, Chris, but I must say that was a really impressive process. I was very impressed with the results we got.
And diagnose that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate you being on the call.
It wasn't that.
And for the kind words.
Problem where the
Any other questions about anything we talked about? Personal situations that you're having in your shop? Questions that you have about hiring? I'm open to any questions you have.
Chris, you come in and train the people for us too?
That's the hard part. I do the easy part. Yeah, onboarding is always a challenge.
Awesome information.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert. So let
Chris,
me
I have a
wrap
question.
up. Yeah, go ahead.
The one ad you had about family, I think it was the one, I might have been Aaron's Repair, the one that's doing barbecues and outings and all that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what that looked like, but you said how he wrote it. Did he sit down and write that, or was that something you actually sat down with him and helped write that ad?
I wrote it for them. I interviewed them. Actually, that's a great question, Vince. The process. The process works. What I recommend is if to shop owners, if they want to do this process themselves, and you absolutely can do this for yourself. I mean, there's no magic here. What I recommend is that you sit down with a whiteboard and you sit down with your leadership team and you have somebody write notes on the whiteboard and you say, you go through a couple of different processes. One process is what are all the benefits we offer as a shop? And so you just bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do we do? Oh, okay, we participate in Founders Day. The Founders Day event. We participate in Habitat for Humanity. We build houses. We do this. We do this and this. And so you've got all these benefits. We have a fully stocked break room. We offer uniforms. All the benefits. And then you go over to the next area and you say, okay, well, now what are all the things that we do? What are all the things that we want? So what's our team culture? What's our environment? Do we have a team culture? Do we have a family culture? Do we have an individual achievement culture? What does the culture look like? What would the ideal team member look like? What are we looking for? Are we looking for an A tech? Are we looking for a B tech, a C tech? I mean, what are we really looking for here? So then you get clear on what the ideal scene is for not only for your shop, but also for the individual that you're going to hire. Now you have all that on the whiteboard. And what I tell my clients is take a picture of that and text it to me. So that me and my team can go through the process. We also have another process. I mean, it's all about what works best for the shop. We've got a questionnaire that we take our clients through, and the questionnaire has every benefit that we can think of on it. And we just go down the list and we say, do you offer this? Do you offer this? Do you offer this? Do you offer this? And then once we get all that together, then we write it. That particular client, we had to do something a little different. And this is where the customization comes in. Their shop was in a very small town in Wyoming. And so what we had to do is it wasn't just about selling the shop, it was about selling the city. So we had like a mini travel advisory, a little travel brochure inside the ad that was selling the city. So it was saying, hey, if you're not familiar with this city, well, guess what? Lots of people like this city because there's a lot of outdoors activities. There's, you can take out your ATV, you can hunt, you can fish, you can hike. There's all kinds of cool things going on. And so that was part of the process that we figured out when we were doing the initial interview is we were probably going to have somebody that we're going to, have to get somebody from out of the area. So not only did we talk about relocation packages, but we talked about what is it going to look like to sell this city to someone who lives in a different city. And as who knew, but I know now that there are a lot of technicians who are looking to get out of big cities and they're looking to go to smaller cities for a different quality of life, a slower pace. And that's what we marketed to. And we got one. We got a great guy who's tired of the big city and he moved up there and he's just happy as a clam now. So yeah, great question, Vince. And that's what he did. We wrote it from scratch.
Cool. Thank you for explaining that, Chris.
You're quite welcome.
Chris, Kevin, I got a question, something you'd mentioned
Hey, Kevin.
early on. First, I apologize for not muting myself. I realize that there's stuff going on here, but
No problem.
at the beginning, you mentioned a few different platforms. One was Indeed and Craigslist. You mentioned another one I hadn't heard of. Was it Hot Jobs or Hot something?
Yeah. There are literally hundreds of job boards. But what ends up happening is if you post on the top job boards, a lot of what, and this happens with review sites too. It happens across the internet. What ends up happening is if you post on the top job boards, other job boards end up scraping the data and putting them on their job boards anyway. So it doesn't really do you a lot of good to be on a ton of different job boards. There's diminishing returns. So if you have somebody on your staff that is kind of, if you say, hey, look, I want you to post this ad on 10 different job boards, there's a better use of their time. I mean, what we found is that, if you want to post on a job board, Indeed is just, what we found is that Indeed's the best job board to post on. If you're just going to post on one job board, they have the highest quality candidates and it's the easiest platform to use because you can store templates, you can send out emails, and you can manage applicants or candidates right from the dashboard. And it's very easy to use. I'm kind of upset that they're doing away with the career page because the career page was phenomenal. It was a mobile responsive page that has all of your jobs on Indeed in one place. And you could just link to that one page. And that's what we were doing. And then all the jobs that you're currently offering are available. But they're doing away with that in April. So we'll go back to just linking directly to the jobs. But Kevin, sorry, you asked me what time it was. And now I'm telling you how to build a watch. But if you really want to maximize your effectiveness, don't worry too much about all the different job boards that are out there. The best effort that you can put forth in finding good talent is making sure that your ad is written well, that it has a good headline, a strong headline, that you are writing the ad, WIIFM, what's in it for whatever position. And then you're going to get the most leverage that you can from any platform you post it on. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm, sure. Any other questions?
Oh, awesome job, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vince. So I'm just going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for co-hosting with me, Vince. I appreciate that. You can contact me. That's my email address for Astute Social Media. I also have an email address that I didn't seem to put on here, which was Shop Management Alliance. It's also Chris at Shop Management Alliance. Shop Management Alliance, what we do is we present trainings like this on an ongoing basis. So definitely, if you're not on our email list, you want to be on our email list, and we'll keep you notified when we have different training events like this. We're talking about all things. We run a weekly 20 group. We also do service advisor training, emotional intelligence training, training for high performance teams, building high performance team, getting yourself off the front desk and starting to work on the business and not in the business. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff. So check us out at shopmanagementalliance.com if you have any interest in that as well. And with that, if you are interested in a link, once I get this all edited and cleaned up, I will be happy to do that for you. Just shoot me an email and I will send you out a link, and you can watch us anytime you want. You can cook your Jiffy Pop and eat popcorn and eat licorice and watch us anytime you want. Have a good day, everyone. Get back to work.
Good. Have a
Thanks,
good day.
Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Glad you're on.